Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. I'm Lucas and welcome back to another PSGL League Racing video. This time for the start of the season 29 season. Highly anticipated as it was, it's quite a stacked grid that we've got racing in this season. We've got, I don't know, I can't even remember the exact number, but there's a lot of esports drivers on this grid. So yeah, we're kicking off the season here in Bahrain. One of my favourite tracks, actually, a track I really enjoy. Pace felt pretty decent going into this race, so we wanted to start the season off on a good start. Now, the main difference we have here, as sadly Yanni dropped it on the inters on the meme laps that we start the session with, but we have full qualifying, so this is our first run in Q1 on a set of softs midway through the session. Now, I must admit, I didn't do any full qualifying practice. I hadn't done a single Q1 or anything, so I was actually quite took aback by how much less grip I had. I thought I'd be able to predict it quite well, but the car was very nervous. The rear end of the car struggled a lot, it felt, at least for me, on this first run of qualifying, so we were very, very tentative, not very confident underneath us on this first run. So yeah, heading halfway through the lap now. Yeah, not feeling too great a start of our lap, just feeling sort of thereabouts, not really getting the rotation out of the rear end of the car with a bit of oversteer like you have to on this game to be pretty optimal and pretty quick. So yeah, we'll see where this lap ends up at the end of our first run of Q1. Jarno Opmeer setting the fastest lap of a 0.1, which is a pretty good lap for Q1, I reckon, especially at this point in the session. Definitely coming out the box with some confidence, definitely unlike us at the moment. So yeah, heading down to the last corner, getting the apex, a bit of oversteer, not really hooking the car up at any point during this lap.
Conservative lap.
Very conservative, as you hear me saying. We do a 0.6, which was really slow, much way too far away from where we were in practice. So yeah, not a great start to the session, but what we now have, chat, is the knowledge of the track. We know the grip. Now we can go and attack with some confidence, and let's see how much we can improve on the final run. You know, there is a bit of pressure here because if you know, one slight invalidation and we're kind of out of qualifying. So yeah, we've got to put it all together when it matters. But that's sort of the joys of league racing. You know, you've got to deliver when it matters, and it makes all the difference. So yeah, heading on to the end of sector 1, we have gained a 10th on this lap, which is not too bad. Sector 1 was a weakness, I feel, for us throughout this whole qualifying compared to our practice. We never really managed to extract the best out of it, but here we are, a 10th and a half up on our lap, which is not too bad at the moment. Coming into this left-hander, getting a lot better rotation, and on the exit we gain up to around nearly 2 tenths, so all is going quite well on this lap at the moment. Coming to the end of the back straight DRS zone, down to 4th gear, up to 5th. Didn't really optimise that, we never really got a good speed carry through there, so definitely room for improvement. Coming into the final sector now, getting a nice purple middle sector actually, which was very surprising because it didn't feel that optimal, that's for sure. But anyway, 2 tenths up, heading down to the last corner. The thing that's comfortable for us is that we know, because of how bad the last corner was on the first run, we can gain over 3 tenths, and bang, that puts us up down to P3, comfortable enough to get us through, I reckon, into Q2.
Shaky start, but we'll
had to use 2 sets of tyres, but that's really down to us not doing any Q1 practice. We never really came out the box with some confidence. So yeah, heading on to Q2 and Q3, the grip's going to increase, so it'll feel more like what we did with short qualification practice going into this. So yeah, now, to give context, because we're heading straight into the last run of Q2, we did a run on used tyres and we invalidated it anyway, but it wouldn't have made a difference because we need to make that run count anyway. But yeah, let's crack on with this last run. We only had 1 set of fresh tyres available for this session, so we just had to hook it up. Now, sorry, what you're going to see, chat, as well, sorry, I'm so used to being on Twitch, sorry, but what you're going to see in this session is a lot of people either not doing laps or aborting their laps, because they're all going to want to go for the alternate strategy. Now, this isn't something I tested, but what a lot of people were wanting to do is start outside the top 10 to have a free set of tyres to have an opportunity to do an alternate strategy choice, which you do see quite often, but what I don't think myself or many maybe predicted was unbelievably how powerful it might have ended up being. So yeah, anyway, enough of that, that's for later. Heading on round to the end of our Q2 lap, coming through sector purple in the middle sector apparently, again, so that, I don't know, it seemed like quite a strong sector for us somehow, not too sure how that is, but yeah, coming into the last corner, the lap's been pretty smooth so far, nothing too sensational, nothing too bad, nearly invalidated the final corner, and that's enough to put us P2, just off of P1. And sorry for the sniffle, my nose just started to run and my room's quite cold at the moment, so I'm a bit chattery, but yeah, P3 and Q2, good enough for us going into Q3. Now, the final run. Now, we have to commit obviously to starting on the soft tyres, so yeah, the last one in Q3 is for position. We want to be starting as high up as possible. In complete honesty, we have enough speed to get pole position, but it's now down to us to do a good enough job. So, heading into turn 1 now, we're going to take a full commentary of this lap. Braking too early, we did not maximise that braking zone. We did not get turn 1, honestly. In sector 1, we probably left at least half a tenth plus on the table, so that was a big mistake from us, even if we are up on our delta from the used tyre run. So yeah, turn 1 was not optimal at all, so we've got a bit of work to do. Coming into the middle sector now, dropping into a bit of oversteer, so we never even carried the optimal speed through this section, so a bit more time lost I reckon, but we start to hook things up now. Great apex, good traction on release of that section, heading into one of the trickiest braking zones on the track, into third gear in a very smooth drift. This is what you need to do on this game to go quick. You need a controlled slide, controlled aggression. 3/10 up on the delta now, coming into the final section of the lap. Carrying some decent speed this time, going all the way to the exit of the track. 3.5 tenths up, now creeping up on the delta, which is good as we head towards the end of the lap. Purple in the middle sector again, I don't know what it is, but we keep doing it. Now, we didn't brake late enough again into that penultimate corner. We never really optimised some of the braking zones on this lap, costing ourselves a bit of time. The last corner though was very smooth, very clean, using all the road and exit, rallying ourselves up to the DRS zone, opening the DRS, half a second up in our delta, and that puts us P2. We are a bit gutted with that because we knew there was more on the table, and as you can see that puts us P4 though in qualifying. Not the worst, not the best, but you know, well I say not the best, it's still very, very good, but our lap, we definitely, you know, have to take it on the chin. We just didn't do a good enough job. Pole position probably was on the cards, but I definitely didn't do a good enough job, so full credit to everybody ahead of us, because they did an absolute amazing job in the qualifying. Jarno Opmia on pole position, Nico Longe and Fabrizio Donoso, the two Alpine esports drivers in P2 and P3, Danny Marrero in P5, Frederick Rasmussen in P6. That's our sort of grid around us. So without further ado, 5 red lights come up on our screen, getting the revs right, and away we go, releasing the clutch, having to triple up shift. We did not get a good release, so we're getting blocked by Fabrizio, and then he squeezes us into Danny Moreno, which I was really not happy about at the time, I can tell you, internally, because we lost both of us a position to Danny Moreno because he just seemed down the outside. So yeah, not a great start. We lost the position, so I was not happy at this point, but anyway, you can't get hot-headed. You've just got to keep level and crack into this race. We're going to be on board with the whole lap as always to open the race. Now heading into the middle section, just trying to get a rhythm into this race, and yeah, got to make sure we don't make any silly mistakes. Now in this race it was going to be very key to manage your tyres. There was a lot of strategy options on the table for this race, so we never really knew how it was going to play out. There was obviously a lot of people on the alternate strategy sitting around there outside the top 10 that were definitely going to come into play at the end of the race, so we just had to focus on ourselves, think about who was around us, and yeah, crack on from there. So coming round out the end of the first lap, but Fabrizio Donoso gets a huge oversteer moment ahead of us, and now heading on the exit of the penultimate corner, we get ahead of Fabrizio, basically getting back to where we started, except Danny Moreno's now the car in front. So yeah, I think that was a bit of a blessing in disguise for us. We're back to some form of you know, position we were at to begin with. And yeah, rounding out lap 1, double checking Fabrizio's not coming back. It is. Sorry for the sniffling constantly. But yeah, heading into lap 2 now, I guess, and we're going to probably start cutting through the laps in a moment. So yeah, now just settling into this race, cutting on to lap 3 now, sitting behind Danny Moreno. Fastest lap for Jarno. Our pace is very similar, obviously. Not with the DRS at the moment, but we're just sort of trying to chill, manage our ERS, manage everything. I mean, we never really increased our ERS take, but we never depleted it either, so we just had to manage our own race. Strategy wise, it was quite variable. We weren't exactly sure 100% what we were going to do. So yeah, on to lap 6 now, cutting through the laps as you see quite a bit because we were just sort of sitting in the train. Now coming into the last corner to round out lap 6, we have Nico Longe ahead of us. He dropped a bit off Jarno Opmeer and he dives into the pit lane. Very early pit stop for Nicolas Longe as we head on to lap 7. We get really close to Danny Moreno, just keeping him on his toes. And the two Mercs now, 1 and 2, Fabrizio Donoso right behind us. Now, I made the decision to be quite reactionary and dive into the pit lane on lap 7 to go onto a set of hard, getting the braking quite nice for the pit entry, and this is for us to hopefully cover off Nicolas Longe because the undercut can be quite powerful. So, we tried to play our cards well here, tried to do what we could. So, yeah, let's see how this goes. We were lucky we weren't held in the pits as well, but also what I just said there, if we pitted when the Mercs pitted, there was a high chance we would have been held in the pit lane. So we had to make a smart decision there. I think we played the strategy alright. But as we come out the pit, Nicolas Longe, 1.5 seconds ahead. That is a huge gap. So we've got work to do, chat. So we're going to go on board with this lap because this is kind of race critical in some respect. If we don't get in the DRS now, we might lose position to Fabrizio, who is right behind us. We don't know his ERS situation. He could be absolutely blasting it. He had DRS on us when we pitted, so we have to give it everything. So we started 1.5, 1.6 seconds, I can't remember what it was now, behind Nicolas Longe ahead of us, but we have to give it everything right now, otherwise we are in yeah, a trickier situation. We have Tomic behind us as well, who pitted I think even the same lap as Nicolas to get himself in the mix. So yeah, blasting a bit of ERS now as we head on to the final section of the lap. Again, 1.3 seconds, so the gap has came down, using a bit of ERS again. We are pushing on a bit because we need to get in the DRS, whether it's this lap or the next lap of Nicolas Longe, blasting the ERS non-stop now. 1.1 seconds, gap keeps coming down, down, and down, coming to 1.0, and we're within it for the DRS zone. We gained 6 tenths, 5 tenths on this lap to get in the DRS zone. And that was amazing. I mean, that was really important for us to do that. And now Fabrizio into the pit lane, comes out the pit lane, and we are ahead. And I believe we would have came out ahead potentially anyway, but it wasn't guaranteed. So we gave it everything, tried to play it intelligently for this race, and now heading on to the next lap now.
This race feels very much between the Mercs.
Heading on to the next lap, as we say, set our fastest lap, but now heading on to up the inside of Nicolas Longe now, and yeah, it's that's I guess that's the provisional lead of the race now. So what I wanted to actually originally do as well though is work together with Nicolas Longe, but Fabrizio Donoso spun as well, so that's Fabrizio out of contention in the background. So me and Nico just gonna, well, my intention was to sort of just plough through the laps with Nico. Because we knew the two Mercs as well for a race update. One of the Mercs just pitted, Danny Moreno just pitted onto the medium tyres, and Jarno Opmeer now in the pits, as you can see on the top left of your screen, in the pits for the medium tyres as well. So these guys are now on the medium compound, going for something different, so their pace is going to be very strong. And yeah, coming into the final corner of lap 12, and Danny Moreno now on the mediums up to P13, so that's a net P3 for Danny Moreno. We are in the net lead of the race, so it's not gone too badly at the moment. We're ahead of Nicolas Longe on a lap older hards, but yeah, now lap 15 we're cutting on a little bit because Danny Moreno and Nico are going at it. They are using their ERS quite heavily. We have to hold on the outside, hold our line, hold the nerve, and retain the lead net lead of this race, and we have to keep using the DRS, because if we don't use it, both of these guys go for us, and they're both going up the inside of each other now. This is going to get really feisty between the Alpine and the Mercedes esports drivers behind us, going side by side as we head into sector 2 of this lap. Danny Moreno now ahead, so that looks like the move is done, but we would be greatly mistaken, because Nicholas Longue and Danny Moreno banging wheels as we head into the middle of this lap, which is quite feisty racing from the two of them. Danny Moreno now up the inside. Of course, he's on the mediums as well, so he's going to have the advantage in battle with the traction, with the grip, with the general grip levels, as I kind of just said. But anyway, cutting on to the end of lap 15, start of lap 16. Danny Moreno now coming at us. Now we make the decision not to fight him, because we would rather go with him and try and pull away than then lose more time, because if we fight too much, we don't know what happens with alternate strategies at the end of the race. There are a train of cars out in the lead at the moment on the medium tyres doing an alternate strategy, but Nicholas Longue making a huge lunge from miles back, and he half spins into the side of our car. We left him plenty of space. I think Nico maybe just misjudged it, but he came from a long way back with that dive bomb, so I think that's Nico out of contention. So now we have Danny Moreno, myself, Jarno Opmia and Tomic behind us. Medium hard, bit of a strategy mixture in the play. Danny Moreno pushed really hard to try and break away from us here, I presume, but yeah, now we're on a Mercedes sandwich, so it's quite tricky to manage, because I could have built up my ERS, but then I would have been vulnerable to Jarno, and at this point in the race I still thought I had a chance of victory, because if these mediums go off, then we might be able to manage the pace. You never know. But that's everyone starting to come into the pit lane now to switch on the strategy. We decide to go up the inside of Danny Moreno to just try and swap position lap after lap potentially, but it didn't really work out because we didn't get DRS, so it kind of just meant that we lost a little bit of time. It ended up as a swap position with Danny, so we choose not to overfight this. What I tried to do here was just try my best to work with these guys, but what I didn't want to do is go to P3, because if I end up with two Mercedes in front of us, then it's kinda game over for any chance of the win, in some respects. So yeah, just cutting through the laps, hoping that we can just sort of sit with Danny, not burning all of my ERS, but you know, not saving all too much either. Barry Bowerman and Nicholas Matteo, all the alternate strategy runners have pitted, but we now take the lead of the race now onto lap 20 with Danny Moreno and Jarno Opmia hot in pursuit. And as you can look on the minimap, we have the orange McLaren on their way now. And I believe our teammate Shinaka Clay as well on that alternate strategy, going on the soft tyres, so they went medium soft and we're on hards, so our tyres versus theirs isn't going to hold up well. Danny Moreno making a little bit of a kiss to the back of our car, but that's alright, no damage done, no harm done. Here on lap 21, we're holding our own now in the lead against the two Mercs behind us, which was quite hard to do, I'm not going to lie. I mean, these guys had fresher mediums and I had hards. Obviously their tyres would drop away, but at the end of the day, you know, mediums versus hards, it's very tricky to do combat with these guys. Now, Danny Moreno getting back past us, that was an inevitability, but what I didn't want to do was lose possession to Jarno. I had to hold on to any hope I had to, you know, stay in the mix, and Jarno pushing a little bit on the ERS. I have to go to the inside, but then park it on the apex, not allow Jarno to get a cut back. A little bit of defensive work there we had to deploy, but ultimately it was to no avail by the looks of it, because yeah, these guys just had so much more ERS, so much more power. Grip. So I had to accept the fate at this point, but what we could still do is go with the Mercedes cars. Ultimately, it's quite hard to work against two of them, so yeah, we did kind of what we could. You could do maybe a few things differently, but ultimately we tried to do what we thought is best at the time. And yeah, we're going to try and go with the Mercedes now further into this race, so heading on to lap 24 of 29 now. Barry Bowerman on the alternate strategy on the soft tyres is now approaching. He's now on the back of us, which is yeah, a bit concerning when you have this many laps to go and you have a guy on soft tyres right behind you. Because right now we're on the podium, but Barry has a 3-second penalty as well though, so it's technically still a podium, which yeah, we wanted to stay in the mix, because if Barry went ahead on soft tyres with a penalty and starts fighting with the Mercedes, they might drop off, their mediums might drop off. So you know, a lot is still to play for at this point in the race. We just need to keep ourselves relevant. So yeah, running in the train now. ERS is very stable. We never completely depleted the battery. We just sort of kept it in a similar range, you know, maintenance sort of in a sense. So it was low, but we sort of just deployed the same amount every lap, if that makes sense. So yeah, the two cars behind us both have penalties. Shinaka Clay now also on the alternate strategy into P5. So yeah, this alternate strategy proved very, very powerful, you know, with multiple cars outside the top 10 ending up in very high positions, you know, which obviously sucks for us who start in the top 10, but you know, that's just kind of the way it is, I suppose, with F1 games. It's been like that for a while. But as you see, Barry Bowerman making his way past, and yeah, that's really it. We can't really do too much. Now, we have Shinaka behind us on the soft tyres. Now, for all I know, chat, because he doesn't have a penalty, I said chat again, sorry, but for all I know, Shinaka could win this race, and I didn't want to be the reason that didn't happen, because I could see how that would have went down. You know, I didn't want to be that guy, so we make quite a selfless decision and give Shinaka the position, hoping and presuming that he would be able to fight with the Mercedes and maybe win the race. And that was the hope, not knowing if we were going to get the position back in the end, if he decided to get ahead or not. But as we cut through the laps, Shinaka's still ahead of us, sadly not able to catch up to the cars ahead. But then there's a huge dive bomb from Nicholas Matteo, also on the soft tyres. So yeah, all these guys coming into play at the end of the race. The car's going 3 wide ahead from the lead as well. Now we're going to go on board for the final 2 laps, as the race is really intense, and I want to hopefully capture how that plays out. And yeah, I believe Jarno Otmir now takes the lead. Barry Bowerman in P2, Danny Moreno P3, and our teammate ahead of us. Now, I was really, really hoping that Shinaka was going to get in the mix, but sadly Shinaka just didn't have much left. As you can see, massive oversteer on lap 28. He couldn't really close up. I was hoping he'd be able to do a bit more, but it just didn't seem to be. So yeah, not able to make any progress. So yeah, I was really hoping we'd have another chance at a stab at the Mercedes, because I knew it would all to be play for, all to play for, if I can even speak. But yeah, Nicholas Matteo right there on our toes. So yeah, we've still got around 20% battery, and I believe everyone ahead is bleeding theirs dry. So you know, our tyres are around 60%. The hards are, yeah, it's very hard to drive at this point, but we just pushed and pushed and pushed. We tried to keep ourselves in there. I think we did a really good job in this race, being the top runner on this strategy, because it was really hard to manage at times. But you know, we gave it a good fight all the way through. But heading on now, round in the penultimate lap out round the last corner, and now onto the last lap. DRS enabled, using a bit more ERS now just to cover off anything from Matteo. And yeah, the car's fighting ahead. Barry Bowerman up the inside of Danny Moreno into turn 1 of the last lap. Bowerman pushing him out wide, and this looks like a potential opportunity further down the lap, but it just doesn't seem like Shinaka can get close enough to create any sort of stir. He's completely dry on ERS, and it's painful, because I really hoped that we were going to be able to, you know, cut through a bit. I hoped Shinaka was going to be able to fight a bit more, but it just didn't seem to happen. So yeah, yeah, I don't really know what else to say at this point, because we're just sort of rounding out the lap. We're right behind the cars ahead. It's agonising. We know a better result is on the table with Barry Bowerman's penalty. These are P2 and P3 right in front of us, and I didn't know if Shinaka had more grip. I didn't know what he had left at many points in this race. So yeah, ultimately, if we didn't give the position to Shinaka, it might have ended up better for us, but I don't regret making that decision, because it's technically, and it is not just technically, but it is the right decision to do, because for all I know, Shinaka could have won this race, and it would have made, you know, zero conversation at this point, because, you know, it was the right thing to do. But yeah, sadly Shinaka wasn't able to, you know, get on with it. Didn't look like he had much grip left. I wasn't sure if I was going to get the position back from Shinaka, because we let him pass, but yeah, it wasn't to be, sadly. So that would be P4, finishing where we started in this race, and yeah, that's really it. We gave it a good crack. We were really annoyed in that at the end, but yeah, there's the final result. Jarno Opmeer, the reigning F1 Esports Championship champion, taking the win. Incredible work from the Mercedes duo, so full credit to them. GG to Shinaka on the alternate strategy. It sucks we weren't to get. Well, I was really gutted we weren't able to get on the podium, but yeah. Thank you very much everyone for watching. Take care, and I'll hopefully catch you all in a future video. And yeah, GG to everyone in that race, and thanks very much for tuning in. Take care everybody, and thanks for tuning in. Goodbye.